you like the movies because my obvious obsession and love for Italian culture is like literally right there. It's so obvious. Someone said to me earlier today, "Do you like Italian movies?" I'm like, if I've made films that you've seen and you can't tell that yet, I mean, I've got a guy singing Puccini in the middle of the film. I've got like Puccini music all over it. There are obvious rip-offs of La Strada and Visconti movies, and that's the greatest.
Good times for a change. See, the look I've had can make a good man turn bad. So please, 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 let me get what I want this time.
Siamo qui con Mr. James Gray, che è al Festival di Roma come presidente di giuria. Lo incontriamo però per il suo film The Immigrant, che uscirà in Italia il 9 gennaio con il titolo C'era una volta a New York, distribuito da BIM. E abbiamo la fortuna di potergli fare qualche domanda. Mr. James Gray, one of the things I love in your movies is that all of them have got some very specific permanent feature. You always shoot in New York, you always work with Joaquin Phoenix. I'd like you to describe the nature and the strength of your bond with the city and with Joaquin.
Well, the city is obviously a major player because it's where I'm from, it's where I was born, and I'm always trying to recreate and conjure the feelings of what it meant to me to grow up there and to live my own life, which sounds very egotistical or very egocentric, but it is the function of the creator, and it's the creative process to try and mine what it is you're about, and hopefully other people can relate to it or are at least moved by it in some way. Joaquin is just an incredible actor, and my relationship with him has really only grown because he and I are interested in the exact same things. You know, it's hard to convey to the audience without words the struggle inside, but it's very important. So he's able to tell me how he's suffering on screen without a word.
He's the best in struggling on the big screen.
The best.
Yeah, the best.
The best. Like,
have you seen him in The Master, and what do you think about that movie?
well, it's very difficult for me to comment on The Master. First of all, because Paul Thomas Anderson's a very good friend of mine, and also because when I watch it, I have no objectivity. It's like I'm watching my good friend's movie who directed it, and Joaquin Phoenix is the star, and it's like asking, yeah, exactly. It's like saying, it's like me asking you if you have a brother or a sister, and it's asking about them, and it's like almost like you can't distance yourself from it at all. I mean, I think he's spectacular, but I can't. I love him, so it's like, I mean, is that objective view, or it's even, it's ridiculous to say that.
Yeah, of course. After 5 movies set in New York, what are you more interested in? Keeping exploring your city or telling something completely different?
Coffee's coming.
Coffee break.
That's an excellent question you just asked me. I'm going to answer it as, of course, as honestly as I possibly can, but it's not an easy answer. It may seem like there's a strategy, cast Joaquin Phoenix in every movie, always set them in New York, but that's never the way it works. An intellectual process, it's an intuitive one. There's an emotion that you're trying to convey, a mood, an aspect of a person's character. It always starts from character. And whether the film is made in New York or not, I'm never really, I know this sounds like a lie, I'm not conscious of it in the beginning. At a certain point, I'm going to have to break out of that, or else I'm going to be in a kind of creative jail.
Well, let's talk a bit about The Immigrant, your last movie. It made me think about opera, and it's not the first time with your movies, but you like opera?
Oh, I think it's the greatest art form that the human race has ever invented. Opera is a truth, not the truth, but a truth. It's incredible.
Do you think The Immigrant could be good opera?
Well, I mean, That was certainly and the intended thing was to do a kind of, like if Puccini were around today, would he have done? I mean, I can't write music, and I certainly, even if I could write music, I couldn't write it like he could. He was the melody master. So I was trying to do a kind of operatic melodrama, and the centerpiece of the movie is we recreated the concert that Enrico Caruso gave at Ellis Island for the immigrants, put it right in the center of the movie, and said, here's Puccini, right in the middle.
2 weeks ago, I was watching Two Lovers, and it was the first time in a couple of years. I realized that's probably one of the most pure and serious American melodramas of the last 10 years, just like Sam Mendes' Revolutionary Road. I think there was a time the studios did this kind of movie constantly, Why do you think it's so difficult to realize them now, and what are your favorite ones in this genre?
That's such a great question. Deep inside that kind of movie that you're talking about, that you just asked me, it's an awareness of our frailties and our weaknesses. And we sometimes fall prey to them. The world should really, for movies, should be about Fredo and not about Frodo. It's our joke about, Fredo from The Godfather and Frodo from Lord of the Rings. But Lord of the Rings is the thing that people want. I mean, I guess Frodo has some emotional responses, but there's such a remove to the film. It's in a whole other, Middle Earth or whatever it is. It doesn't resemble where we live in any way, that it's all about metaphor. And I think that the studios used to make these kind of movies because there was an audience for them. And they don't now, because I think that audience has either moved to television or doesn't exist anymore. But it's not just my country. I mean, what we're talking about, this kind of film, the cinema, which in your country, some beautiful films like, that Visconti or certainly Fellini would make. I mean, The Immigrant is certainly ripping off La Strada quite a bit. Those are rare films around the world now because it's just not seen as a commercial concept.
Yeah. Ringraziamo Mr. James Gray per essere stato con noi, per aver parlato al microfono di Best Movie. Andate a vedere dal 9 gennaio nei cinema C'era una volta a New York, è un melodramma molto doloroso ma anche molto emozionante, ambientato qualche decennio fa a New York con Joaquin Phoenix, Jeremy Renner e Marion Cotillard. Ringraziamo per essere stato con noi Mr. James Gray. Grazie. Grazie.